Mountains.
Ooh,
It's a mountain range.
Oh, that's beautiful. What range?
Ah!
This is perfect. Hey, everyone. We
Hi.
are live. We are just rolling right in. We are rolling into the mountains. We are swimming with the fish. On that note, hello, everyone. I'm Shoshana, bwaySHO, here with Nick Blaemire and Ethan Slater. How are y'all doing today?
Doing great. Terrible. I'm so sorry. We should have coordinated. We're doing terribly.
My friend put out an album today and he keeps making me listen to it.
Just like over and over again. It's like, dude, I get it. It's good.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I keep on calling him and saying, like, is it still going? And if not, why isn't it on repeat?
I'm like, rocks and things,
Wolves,
and
wolves.
things.
It's been a really bad collaboration.
It just sounds like it. For anyone who's just joining us now, which would be everyone who wasn't in the backstage, this was just like the best. I'm like, we need to just start this rolling right now because the behind the scenes is gold.
Chaos. We're chaos agents.
So hello, everyone. I see your comments. I'm going to do some like quick shout outs here.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. We've got
Yes,
ooh, we've got some
Glory
favorites
Days
already.
Glory Days revival, Andrea, totally, starring Ethan Slater.
I'm in.
Can we? You heard it here first.
Here. The riff of
Steve Booth, the greatest riff.
Underneath the same million stars are home, away from home.
Yes, dude. Also, I like Andrea, the spelling of my name. I'll drop the K based on your spelling. I like it.
Now you have to. Well, we were talking before. A lot of people think my last name is Medley just because it almost is, and it might as well be.
It's in there. It's of the DNA.
It is a really good last name, bwaySHO Medley. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Ooh,
that's beautiful.
Ethan. I'm loving this.
I did so little of that work, but I'm grateful for it.
I am very grateful. So, I'm loving this energy. This is going to be a chaos interview. We're just going to roll with it. There will be songs. We do have a little clip of the album that I'm so excited to hear, but we'll wait for it. Wait for it.
We wrote that.
Famously.
Yeah.
So why don't y'all give us a little background of how this album started? Take it away.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll skip a few steps, but what it started was a few years ago. I was working on this musical. I'd written a couple of songs for it that I really liked, and this was, Nick and I were already friends. We'd met working on SpongeBob, and I was such a fan of Nick as a human, and also a fan of Nick as a writer, and obviously, I'd been working with him as an actor, so I was like, hey, buddy, would you be down to check out some of the stuff I'm working on? And he was like, yeah, let's sort of craft it together. And at the time, the core of the idea, the core of the show was about this young boy who was raised in near isolation in rural Alaska. And he uses his imagination to cope with the loneliness of his surroundings. That's still what the story is, and it's grown a bit in the way that shows do. And then just to keep rambling on a little bit, feel free to interrupt me, but just
no, you're doing great.
Okay,
I'm loving it.
So we have this show. It's about sort of like transcending the world that our parents build, that our parents build for us. It's about sort of like coping with the loneliness and the way that people deal with grief in different ways. But it's also like this fun sort of folk musical. And then the pandemic hits, and we sort of can't keep working on it in the way that we want to. And a few months in, Nick and I were talking, and we were like, this idea of recording a concept album had been floating around. And we were like, this actually might be a really great time to like work on the show in this particular way and get it out there in the way that we in a way that we like are really inspired by the concept album. It's something that's like really important to both of us. So we started working on it, and we ended up getting just like an ideal cast together, and an ideal like musical team all over the world, all over the continent. And we made this album, and that is the monologue. Thank you.
Beautiful.
And scene.
We'll call you. Can you do it again and go to the top?
Absolutely.
And just more about Nick, like more about what was there. You said something about respect.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes total sense to me. I totally get that. I just like didn't get that direction.
I figured. No, I figured. It's great. It's fine. No, it's fine. Honestly.
Do you mind giving me like 2 seconds to breathe, and then I'll just.
Have you done any acting work before? I'm not.
I've done a little. I've done a little.
Yeah. Okay. Well. All right. Well. Maybe next time we'll see it. No, I concur with everything that Ethan said. Everything that Ethan said. It truly, it's like it's such a great thing to work with your friends. Like, and it is something that you can't force, right? Like, just because you like each other doesn't mean you're going to end up like firing, synapses in a way that is actually complementary. And that, I think, it's kind of scary, right? You're like, when you get into business with friends, like people start businesses or like become roommates and the friendship crumbles. And I think what really exciting for me in this is that, like, I feel like I've gotten to, like, our friendship is just like deepened, and there's been a real sense of like understanding what we both bring to the table. Cause I think, I started writing when I was like 15, and I was definitely under the impression that like shows just immaculately came together, and that you like had a great idea, and then like it made you think of another great idea, and then that's how Stephen Sondheim does it, guys. And I got some rude awakenings to just the idea of storytelling as a math problem that unlocks the magic. And what I feel like I got handed when Ethan was like, hey, check out these songs, is like magic, just like unbridled magic. These are really fascinating worlds and characters and melodies and chord progressions. And then it's like, what's the best way to tell that story? And like that becomes this whole other question. And the concept album was actually, I think, really helpful in answering a lot of those questions, because we started realizing, that this isolation idea, it is good for a couple of things. It allows you to understand what Ethan was saying about like using your imagination to cope with just like the lack of any, like normalized or like previously understood reasons to exist if you're like living out on your own.
Yeah.
And then also like just the value of silence. And so like, what if the book scenes are actually in silence? And then it was like, okay, so how does that reweight songs, and what does each song need to do? And, there's something about musical theater that we all know, we all love it, where like sometimes the song will tell you exactly what's going on. It's like, I am here and I'm going to the store, and hopefully at the store I will meet Taylor the latte boy and have a boyfriend. And, like that's one version of musical theater, and more power to it. But there's also stuff like concept albums and Tommy and Superstar and Chess and these things that are a little bit more smudged, or like watercolor in terms of the way that they give you information, and not necessarily like general, because I think that's a pitfall. It has to be specific, and like there has to be a point of view, but those albums let you color in the world yourself. And I feel like that's just, great musical theater also does that too. But it was just like trying to blend those two ideas became like really good for this particular story. It wasn't just like, oh, let's do that because we're in a pandemic and we can't, get together in person. It's like, oh, this show is weirdly like taking on resonance now because of what we're going through in the isolation of our own homes, but it's super, organic and not thrust upon it. And we didn't start writing the show in the pandemic. And it's been really cool how the show has sort of told us which way to go. And that's like this fun project that we've been doing now for like 2 or 3 years.
And scene. Amazing. No, I love
really
that.
Nicely done.
A little
Thank
more
you.
about Ethan next time though. Like, but other than that, loved it.
Oh.
Also, like, I feel like you were just like a hair behind the music. Was nobody else hearing that?
No, I heard that. Just like a little bit.
Yeah. No, I think that what you're getting at, Nick, is
really good. Both of you really good. Way to just like
Thank
Make
you.
me feel
Snap in.
terrible. Now I know what it feels like. All right, go.
Yeah, it feels bad, right?
Yeah,
That's
I'm sorry.
good
You're a great
friendship.
actor. You're a great actor.
So are you, Nick.
Thanks.
So there's like this, I was like thinking back, you know, getting to like zoom into your office sometimes, because like sometimes you're like on your couch or whatever, but like being like in this like little area just to blow up your spot a little bit. It's just like giving me like these moments of remembering like, right, the work that we did pre-pandemic in that room, throwing stuff up on the corkboard, like was so like instrumental to where we ended up once we started working on it in this position, like in these places, right?
Yes, it was. Yes.
And like, I think that was a really cool, you know, speaking of the math problem, like I feel like there are different versions in writing. Whenever you're working on something, there's a different version where like you write a draft and then you're in the next draft and you throw out everything from the first draft, but you realize how much you actually kept from that first draft in the blank page tree, right?
It bakes in.
It bakes in, right? And I find that we're quoting conversations that we had in that seat so much, in a way that like I hadn't really thought about. I do talk a lot with my hands.
Are you Italian at all? Because that is very Italian.
I'm not, but I get
Edge
it.
of the world.
That's very
nice.
good. That's spot on.
It's really true though. It's really true though. It's amazing how many different directions we went and how they like felt like dead ends at the time, and other songs that we wrote, and it's just that thing of like you're you know, when you're writing a show, you're shining a light in the dark and you're trying to like find what the room looks like as you're constructing it, and it's just a very odd sort of, I mean, I definitely, this room, I feel like right over in this corner, I would just like have paced like, okay, but if that song's second, then doesn't that mean, you know, there are just these there are implications, right? Like that was a thing that we talked a lot about, that, okay, so if this show is from Ben's perspective, and we, you know, originally the show opened with Alaska, Here We Come, which Norbert Leo Butz, hero of musical theater, superhero of the Broadway collective universe, he's the first lyric. And that's amazing. But if the show is Ben's story, then why does he have the first lyric? And there's like just questions like that we came up with like deceptively simple answers for, and they started implying other things. And it was like, okay, so now like, what is the song that Ben is singing at the beginning of the show? Ben is the character that Ethan plays. And could that song, you know, could that whatever prelude moment, could that be from a song that happens at the end of the show? And what is the thesis of that song? Oh, we better write that song. And, you know, it's like it helps you. I think that's one of the things that I started realizing over like the last 15 years of writing, is that it really does tell you, you can mine what you already have for more information. You know, like the chord progressions that Ethan had at the beginning have become like motifs that go throughout and like built other songs because they were, you know, recognizable enough that you could hang more than one song on them. You know, like that's the fun of making a show, and making an album in a way is like, it's a really fun way of writing a musical. Like it's sort of not the way that you think to do it, and nor did we sort of intend to, but it's been cool.
Yeah, I feel like those motivic moments like are something that feel, we've been into it the whole time. Like the whole process has been about musical motifs carrying through and telling the story in different ways. Yeah. But doing it in the form of a concept album was a really cool experience, because you're not playing incidental music that carries the motif over, right? Like you're not, and the way that we formatted each song in the show, what's I think important to both of us is that each tune is its own, like it's its own sort of pop song, right? Like, or, you know, it like lives on its own in that way. And yet it's like really motivic. And that's what I'm really proud of that in this album, is like blending sort of the musical storytelling of theater with these with like our music, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, man.
I feel ya.
Yeah.
I love it. I've listened to it. The nice thing about being a reporter, and you get a little bit of a head start on the music, and oh my goodness, I've just been listening to it all the time. And
God.
Yeah, it's so good. I truly,
Thanks.
y'all, like in the comments, I need to hear who has been listening. Like, what are your favorite songs? And I'm gonna get favorite songs from each of you. So, you know.
Oh, awesome.
But you know, I do love that as I'm listening, I'm like, oh, I think this is my favorite song. And then I listen to the next song. I'm like, ooh, but wait, I love this. And then at the end, I think like the second to last song, there's one, it's just the music, no lyrics. And it was so calming. And I just kind of like had that on repeat for an hour, just like listening to it while I was like talking to a friend, and I felt so relaxed. And I think that's so beautiful to have both like the nice storytelling, but also just this like, I was in my room, but I was mentally in a forest, and I love that.
That's the best compliment. Honestly, that's the goal, right? Is to get to like well, it's not the goal for everything. Sometimes the goal is to really make you listen and to make you like feel like you're going to miss something. And this was sort of trying to create an atmosphere that made you, you know, sort of like engage I don't know, instinctively, like it sort of washes over you, and then you realize like, oh, something popped out, you know, rather than like I think that's the thing that's fun about albums, is that when a lyric sort of like makes its way to the surface, rather than like you feeling like you know you have to listen to every single word or you'll be confused. Like that's not this.
Do each of you have favorite songs?
No, I'm dreadfully bored of all of them.
The worst.
I will say, actually, it makes me like pretty thrilled that you point out the song. It's called Passage.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's like it is like this. It's this sort of I don't know, this like sleeper on the album, right? Like you're not. It doesn't seem like it's one that's gonna come up necessarily, because it is in some ways. It's telling the story musically, and it's telling this moment, and it's like sort of efficiently doing a lot of what would be different in the stage show. You know, there's sort of that in it, but it was a piece that to me felt really important because it was fully based on these motifs, and also, you know, it can be played all on a single instrument, which is like this sort of beautiful thing to me, versus like it encapsulates like all of the atmospheric sound. So I really just appreciate that you brought it up, because it's like
totally
one of my proudest moments on the album. I don't know if you feel the same way, Nick.
No, but I don't. But I wish we had cut it. But I'm totally. I love it too, and I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed by it, frankly, because I think it's really hard to create something simple that doesn't feel repetitive. Like that's something that was a really fun challenge in this, is trying to do that all over. And it leads into my favorite song on the album, which is Edge of the World, the title track. Mainly because I think Rocks and Things is like the hit. It's like an unbelievable song that is one of the ones that Ethan brought me when we first started this. And I feel like that was like an immaculate conception in some ways. Like it really just like plopped out into the world. I'm like, oh yeah, Rocks and Things. Well, you know, that song by Paul Simon. But it is incredible. And Norbert gives like a Tony Award winning performance singing it, but he also gives a Tony Award winning performance in this later song. And I was alluding to this earlier, that like, you know, how do we bookend the show? And that song is the one where I feel like we really found the show. It was like, okay, so if Rocks and Things is point A of this character, a guy who takes his son out of society and who is, you know, dealing with the ramifications of that and trying to convince himself that it was the right thing to do. What does that mean at the end of what is point B of that song? Yeah. And why is point B happen? And so we really started investigating that, and this idea of the son confronting the father, and just what does that mean that, you know, the dad's ethos was about leaving, and how can you tell this story without ever explicitly saying like this happened and then this happened and then this, you know, it's just like, that's not, you know, it when exposition happens, we all like our hair stands up in the back of our neck. We're like, oh God, like don't just tell me, you know, show me. And so that song felt like I remember being like right where I was when we were working on it. Ethan had sent me like a longer version that we wanted to cut down, and it was like, oh, but it's there it is, like the living on the edge of the world. That moment was like, that's the way that we, you know, come on, every time a title shows up in a song, you're like, well, that better be good, right? Like,
Right.
No offense, I love Tom Kitt. He did an amazing job on the SpongeBob album. I think he's one of the most brilliant guys. But when it comes to something next to normal will be okay, I'm a little bit like, yeah, that's the title, you know? And it's like, it's a good moment, but it does challenge me every time listening to other shows to be like, well, how are they doing it? And when are they doing it? And do I feel like the whole thing comes together, or am I like, yeah, that's the title? And it was cool to feel like we maybe, you know, got a version of that feels like the dad making his case rather than this is the title track.
Right. And I think like one of the really like fun challenges about that song, like both in the stage of just like sort of like pooping it out there and in the stage of like cutting it down from 12 minutes, was like, okay, so how do we sort of like show cognitive dissonance, right? Like how do we show both that he understands exactly what's going on and yet he can't quite admit it yet, you know, like, because we don't end in this place of like, everything's good and it's always gonna be good. And we don't end in a place of everything's bad and it's gonna be bad. We end in like a pretty, I think, naturalistic place for a show that is pretty not naturalistic in some ways.
Yeah.
And so there was like this really sort of exciting dramatized cognitive dissonance in that song, which is we do have the one expositional moment where you think that we're going to get, why did you take me to Alaska? Ben says.
Right.
And you're like, okay, here's the answer, baby. And he's like, because I did.
Right.
And I think that that's sort of something that really excites me about that song and the show.
Yay!
Just like talk about our own writing.
Yeah. The thing I love about myself is
I really loved when I did that, and then I played that music, and then it went on the album. I just love.
Is that how it sounded? Oh no!
No. I'm just kidding.
Nick and Ethan give it 4 thumbs up.
Spindrift.
Brought to you by Mason Jar. So I love that both of you.
That's all I got.
Have your phone.
Got my key pen. I got my phone. Yeah.
Great. What else do you have? A little show and tell?
It's going well. Yeah. My wife has this beautiful Frida Kahlo mirror.
Oh, that is lovely.
That.
There she is. There we are. Weird.
Whoa.
That's really weird.
So cool.
Guitars. Gotta have guitars. Do you just like pick them up and go?
Yeah, sometimes.
That's how we do it. The songs just fall right out, Shoshana. They just fall right out of the guitar. You know that hole in the middle?
Yeah.
That's where the songs come from.
Shake it.
Give me another.
Come on, get it out of the strings.
No, you've already gotten your one allotment for today.
Honestly,
just like waiting for 12:01.
One a day would be amazing.
No, I mean, could you imagine?
You don't
Broadway,
you don't write a full song a day, Nick? Every day of your life?
No. I write one song a year, and then like 25 songs in one day. That's how it feels.
Oh, impressive.
That's
yeah.
Funny. Yeah.
Right. It's like, because speaking of baking, like these things just take forever to figure out.
It's true. Although I will
sugar, butter,
flour.
flour.
Give me the flour.
Sugar, butter. That's how long it takes to make a musical.
Yeah.
Sugar, butter, flour.
It's like the beach that makes you old.
Were those the best memes of all time? Because I think they were the best memes of all time.
I think so. The Star Wars one.
Totally. Really good stuff.
I feel like talking about the guitar is a good segue to like another element of the show that I'm stoked about. Is that okay?
Oh yeah. He loves this show.
Stop talking about this album already.
No, you know what? You're right.
No,
You're
please,
right.
please
Did
tell
you see
me.
M. Night's? Yeah. So I think one of the things that we're like taught, you know, like this idea of instrumentalists on stage. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like when it goes up, right? Like you have to like put a show on stage depends on the process of putting it up, which is such a beautiful thing about theater. Like there's so much to be physically interpreted. But one of the things that was driving the album in a lot of ways was this idea of the characters playing their own instruments. It's like sort of like the band is on stage making the ambiance, and like it's like I don't know, I feel like the word that you used, Nick, was hand spun. And I think that's like something that I'm like really like we got this album like feels it because of, you know, Norbert and Lilli, I think just absolutely bring their all to it, like in every track. And you can just like get the sense that Norbert could be playing,
and he
could be playing it.
Right.
You know, and like it feels like we're all in the same room. And so I feel like that is another element that we were like really trying to go for.
Well, you know, it's cool that you bring that up, because I think that is also something that, you know, it's like any element of a musical wants to vibrate on two levels, right? Okay, so we go to Alaska, but what does Alaska mean? It can't just be a place. It has to have some sort of mystery box within it, right? Like that there's something about Mama Rose parenting her daughter that you learn about Mama Rose through that, right? It's a portal. And I think there's something about this idea of like what a parents pass down to their kids, that if everybody's playing an instrument, then everybody believes they're the narrator in some way, and everyone sort of is empowering themselves with the storytelling apparatus. And then that, you know, is something that like John Doyle does really well, is like sort of interrogates the reliability of that narrator. And I think that's something this show is really about too, is like, what are the stories we pass down? Who tells you what to believe? And, you know, there's something really interesting about Alaska in that, like, it was colonized by the English, you know, after being failed colonizations by the Russians and the Spanish. And so there's something really interesting about, you know, this white guy, Henry, coming to Alaska with his son and saying, like, this is the way the world is, that is, you know, a bit of a colonization of the mind of his own son, that I think the instruments eventually can reflect that theme, which is cool. So it's not just another like cool flourish, right? It wants to be ingrained.
Ooh, I love that. That is such a great little
content matching form.
Yes. Ooh. Thank you.
I feel like Miranda, who's watching right now, is just going to be making a GIF of all.
Yes. Hi, Miranda. Make a GIF.
Miranda.
Make a GIF.
Make a GIF.
Yeah. Let's GIF it up. Oh, goodness. So. Yeah.
Go on.
As we were. So we've been talking so much about this album as a whole, and I do want to like dive into the Lilli Cooper and the Norbert Leo Butz of it all, because wow, I mean, and obviously Ethan, you on it, we know we don't need to like whatever.
Ethan's favorite part about his own singing is
yeah, I'm so proud of this one note.
This one time I like tried it for one moment and then I hit it and I said, oh,
I was like, whoa.
Actually, before we praise Lilli and Norbert, which is rightful, I just want to say that something that Ethan can't say about himself, which I can say, is that he really didn't want to be on the album. He was really like, maybe it should be somebody else, like maybe it should be a kid, and we changed to an adult actor later so we can show the passage of time. And I was the one who was really like, no, man, like this is your voice. And once he agreed, like it was totally happening. But there were a couple moments where like there were some opportunities for showy singing that Ethan didn't want to do. And I respectfully pushed back and was like, you know, can we just get the high note here and gripping it? Cause like there's a hole where the thing could come, you know, or the song, you know, that part when he goes over top, like it's a really cool thing. And I think all artists are dealing with their ego in some way, just trying to figure out how to access it healthily. And I think we both went through that on this, just like trying to find ways to make the best thing, which sometimes means doing the showy thing. But it's tricky because you don't want to come off like a megalomaniac, and I get that. Unfortunately, you do, and that's sort of
in this
the way
case,
it is.
I am a
Right.
megalomaniac, and no, I really appreciate that, Nick, and I appreciate you saying it, and also it is like the thing that like having a good collaborator and having a friend in your collaborator is so helpful with. Not you, Nick. I'm talking about somebody else. But like somebody who can like keep you in check, right? Like in a good way, and like in the ways where it's like, hey, this is actually do less here, or do more here. Don't worry, I've got you.
Like we don't want to let people. We're not going to let each other look stupid, and it's a nice feeling to be like to have that check and balance. I agree, and I appreciate it too.
And I can even just tell from this fun little interview the relationship that the two of you have. And what I think is beautiful is you can tease each other, and you can also be like, but actually, let's take a moment. You are very talented. I need you to do this because I know you can do this. I've heard you do this. So let's just do that. And then I can go back to teasing you.
Totally. Yeah. It's like, if it's out of respect, then all options are on the table, because you never quite feel like a comment means something bigger than it does, right? Like nobody's secretly thinking like, this guy's not talented. Like it's a nice feeling to be like, I'm safe, Yeah.
Yay, friends. F is for friends who do stuff together.
U is for you and me.
What's that from?
I actually like totally blacked out for a minute. I have no idea what just happened.
You're doing the dishes and you see a sponge and you're like, is this simple? I can't tell.
It is.
That's like sort of my psycho music. Norbert and Lilli.
Yeah, please.
The power of friendship. Yes. Oh, yes. This is great.
Ooh. Thank you. Honestly, thank you. Where's my where's my ball? I can't think without my ball. Toby reference.
That's really good.
Thank you.
Amazing. So this is great. So let's get back to these fabulous people. I'm scrolling up. Yes, Lilli and Norbert are awesome. How did y'all? I mean, sometimes it's funny when you're a reporter and you're asking a question. You're like, how did you meet these people? And you're like, I kind of already know some of these answers, but I want you to tell everyone the fabulousness that, because these voices, they're not just beautiful, but they fit the parts perfectly. And that's what's also really special.
That's cool. That's really cool. Thanks. I mean, I think they both were people, they both are people who I knew from their voices before I knew them. So like I knew Spring Awakening before I met Lilli, before we did SpongeBob, and then I did Tick Tick Boom with her and had the best time, and she was amazing in both and has been amazing in everything I've ever seen her do. And like as Ethan was saying, we grew up on Norbert's voice and learned how to sing sort of from him indirectly, and with in both cases, you just really hope that people are as cool as they are talented, and that so often is not the case, that you have reason to believe that it won't be, and they both just so are, that I feel like we lucked out in terms of the match of person to the material and person to just person, that we've been able to really feel like, oh, we could really build something together. Like they're collaborators, it's not, we Ethan and I are both actors. We've both been involved in things where you come in and you do your part and you leave, and there's not a sense of integration. And here it was like just really a team project, which is just rare. And in this moment was super rare, but I think we all just kind of felt like it'd be really cool to make something together and not feel, totally separated in our own homes. And and their commitment to it really, like, that brought it alive.
And talk about Lilli being pregnant while singing that. Woof.
I mean, that was what was like really nuts. The day that we were working on that song was the day that she told us that she was pregnant. She is pregnant, and Like that was just like, oh, like it's just like you're for your friend. You're just like so. It was like so exciting. It was like so like, are you sure you want to do this right now? Like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Like, and she's like, yeah, this is perfect. But like, the song has been really hitting me in this really emotional way because she was just saying, and I don't want to just repeat her words or put words in her mouth. So I'll speak lightly on it. But she was just saying how much like being pregnant and being able to like live that experience while acting that part, how much it meant to her and how much it influenced the performance, and it influenced the song. Like we were writing this song about an experience that we have not had. And so it's like, it's really important to have collaborators. We knew we wanted to collaborate with her on the song already and like talk to her about it and get a sense of what it meant, but to have that added layer of it being like pretty perfectly timed for that kind of collaboration meant the world, and meant that we could.
You can't plan that stuff. Yeah, you can't. It's like there is serendipity involved in stuff that works, and both of them are they were like fact checkers on some level, of like, oh, does this ring? Like if it doesn't ring true, then it's just not gonna. There's almost a sense, and Norbert was so cool about this too. Just like he's never going to say something that's not true. Like he's not interested, doesn't need to at this point in his career. And so when he would sort of like hop into a song without questions, it was like, okay, maybe we're in the clear, And then if he had a question, it was valid and it was helpful, made the song better, deeper, clearer, and that's the joy of having good people in the parts. It's just like. You get that other authority, from inside, as opposed to everybody looking at it, like you're playing chess. Like, what if the rook goes over here? Then someone's playing that part, and it becomes a human being, and it's just like,
right. Like, there's that incredible feeling of like working with a collaborative actor, where they either change something or suggest a change, and it makes it better, and like. I think that actually is probably a more common experience if you're able to be a collaborative writer than it sometimes happens, but it doesn't always happen that way, right? Like sometimes, like it sometimes can be hard with egos getting in the way and things. No judgment on that. Like it's so vulnerable writing something. It's so hard.
It's so vulnerable. Yeah.
It's like,
and defensiveness is,
defensiveness is natural. And also like you want to give the thing that's in your head a chance to see the light of day before you change it and all those kinds of things. But I feel really grateful that Nick and I went into this with a pretty open heart and mind to our collaborating actors. And so like that is a really special moment. Even just like little things like Norbert like saying like, I think this note will feel better. And we're like, cool. And it's just a much better moment. You know what I mean?
It's awesome. Totally.
That's awesome.
And shout out to Aaron Ankrum, who produced the album, because he had a bunch of those moments too. Like we were arranging, and Mike Dobson and Marco Piglia, who played drums and piano respectively. Because we were arranging it over, like not over Zoom even. It was like you'd get a piano line from Marco, and then Dobson would play drums to that piano and Ethan's guitar together. And then Christian Ankrum, Aaron's brother, played bass, and everyone's playing before and after each other. And then being like, okay, now that I've heard the drum part, can I go back and switch this little bass line? And Aaron, who played horns and did a bunch of keyboard overdubs, as well as mixed the album, he was so good about being like, when I get here, I just want X to happen. And I think what was cool was like, okay, well, if you feel that way, it's really cool to have anybody feel passionate about anything that you feel passionate about. Right. So it's just like, okay, try it. And then he would, and it would spark some other idea. And all of a sudden we have, these like full on violin lines and horn lines going through the album that like have their own motif to them that aren't, that weren't built by us beforehand, that were him responding. And that's just like, that's kind of mind blowing considering, the levels. Yeah,
totally. That's and like to have people come in and feel so invested in the story that we're all trying to tell, that like, Aaron gave 10 times the amount of time and energy and love to this project than he, had to.
Totally.
And it just like made everything so much better. Like everyone brought more than they, quote unquote had to. And I think, that was really special.
Yeah.
The other like moment that Norbert said like early on was like, it's got to feel like we're in the same room. And that's what is at the core of these demos. That's the core of, this thing. We've got to feel like that. And I think that's to the credit of Aaron, who was able to make it feel like that. And I think exactly what Nick was just describing, this like playing off of each other and everyone's willingness to redo things once we got some new information, keep it feel like we're on stage at the same time jamming.
It did. It really does sound like that. It's kind of crazy that it was produced during a pandemic because it sounds so natural.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. Oh, what a relief. What a relief. Because that was hanging over both of our heads for, like a year.
6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, okay, that's it. Jeremy bury me. What is time?
There's no watch on that arm.
This is just it's just rocks and things. What? Yes, I come prepared, y'all. Look at this.
So good.
I specifically.
Do we harmonize?
So, speaking of rocks and things, maybe we have a little clip. Can we do a little? What do you want people to know about it going into this little clip of rocks and things?
Well, this is Norbert singing it live, right? So that, I mean, is it okay? Ethan, can I preface this?
Do it.
All right. So the song is like fifth or sixth.
I think it's six now.
Sixth, which is like an important moment on any album, right? Because you've like set up the first act, and it's really like kind of like moving into the second act of the 3-act structure. And it's kind of the moment in any show where it's like, okay, yeah, so you told me the initial stuff, but like, what else? And this is a moment that Norbert's character Henry is like gathering sediment for research and taking a second to think about sort of what he did by taking his son out of society, which like at that point was like a pretty successful decision. Like they're surviving on their own and it's working. But here's where you start seeing the cracks showing. And what's insane is like, this is a concept album. There's no reason. I mean, yes, they acted the pants off of it, but like acting with your voice and acting with your face are two very different things. And you don't have to memorize when you're doing a concept album. So when we asked Norbert if he wanted to do a video performance of the song, I just was sort of expecting him to be like, so we learn, just like, kind of like reading along, like enjoying himself. But he did not do that. And here is video proof of that.
We search for something timeless, something ageless and refined, because even in the
Did the audio cut out for you?
It did.
It did.
Cool. I'm like, what is going on here? That's fun. Okay. That is so weird. I tested it even and it didn't do it. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to play it again and see if that was a glitch, or I'm going to figure out something else to do. All right.
Well, we can just put it on YouTube. Yeah. No worries.
we search for something timeless, something ageless and refined, because even in the
Search for something timeless, something
That's all you get.
Refined.
That's all you get.
We just wanted to give a little taste.
Just a little taste. Okay, y'all. You know what? This is great. This will be on my bwaySHO YouTube channel. I will post it right after this. And so then you can just in, a half hour or so, you can watch it and it'll be amazing. Maybe this was the world being like, we really wanted a little taste so that you get to see the full thing.
That's what
but it's totally worth checking out the video afterwards, because it's really beautiful to see him bring this to it, and then check it out on the album too, because it shows like the amazing like different kinds of colors that Norbert can bring to the same character in the same song, and I'm like really sort of moved by both of the core sameness of it and also the sort of variety that like is truly a master at work.
Well said.
It truly, truly is. Yeah. I mean, I feel I have all this inside knowledge that I thought I was going to share with everyone, but I watched it earlier and it's just so beautiful. And Ethan, you on the guitar, like it's so stunning. So y'all, truly, like, I'm not just saying this because I want those views. I want you to view it because it's so good.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, Miranda, he lives in every syllable. That's exactly right. He's just like, he's a thunderous singer. And then he also is doing like minutia work that it feels effortless. Like I don't know how he does it, because for me that stuff is really effortful, and he just sort of sets this other bar of like, oh really, oh is this hard for you? Like it's how it feels when he's singing.
Yes.
That's exactly
what, like it's
exactly
hard?
Yeah, well, like it's hard.
If like, do you mind doing? Oh, that? Yeah, fine.
Oh,
hey,
you just want
real
me to
quick,
blow your mind?
Yeah, do you mind? Did I blow your mind? Real quick, I just saw Devin has asked a couple of times about who designed the album cover. And her name is Stephanie Bryan Layton. She works for a company called Red Scandal Graphics, which she started. And she's incredible. I went to college with her, and she has designed so many album covers of mine. I did an album called The Hustle in 2011, and then I put out an album in February called Superstitious Drive. She did the album covers for both of those. And Ethan and I were talking about who we should go to, and we were, batting ideas back and forth. And I was like, let's just see if Stephanie would be down. She's really busy. She does a lot of cool stuff. She did the Jonathan Larson project, and does a lot of stuff for Broadway Records. And she just, like, her first rendering, we were like it's so exciting in that same way with an instrumentalist or an actor, just something that you did alone in your room or with a friend in your room, what it means when you hand that over and what sparks for them. And she just saw it so clearly. So that was just like the super cool shout out to Stephanie.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful album cover. I love
Cool.
it, love it, love it. And it's funny because this is a great little segue. We spoke about album covers on bwaySHO, the podcast. Because I love the Glory Days poster. And okay, I'm sure you saw it because I tagged you. I'm sure you saw it because I tagged you. No, I
did
saw
see
that you
it.
liked it. What a weird phrase to say.
No.
I was going through old photos for anyone who doesn't know what I'm about to say. I was going through old photos, as you do, and all of a sudden from what is it, like 10 years ago now at this point?
13.
13. And I turned around, and in the corner of this old photo is the Glory Days poster on a telephone booth.
Wow.
How fabulous is that?
Insane.
That's amazing.
It's a cool poster. It was such a cool poster from the minute that came out too. Like it was just like, oh, well, now that I see this, now I have like a little bit, it like changes the writing. Like it's a cool relationship, right? That you're trying to like live up to the poster in some way once you sort of see how the poster distills what you were doing. And I still see that poster and I'm like, good job. I didn't do it, so I'm glad to say that.
It is so great. And really, an album cover of any sort tells this extra story because it's the first impact that when someone pulls it up on their phone or whatever, they're seeing this and they go, okay, so that's the mindset I'm supposed to be in when I listen to this. Exactly. And
Totally.
if it doesn't match, you're screwed.
Yeah. Totally. So we have Ukulele Pop Star, which is my friend Kelly Lynn Hayes, saying, who are new MT writers you like to listen to or who inspire you? Who would you recommend we listen to? Besides from obviously the two of you, which everyone should listen to.
Sure. That's a good question. You know, somebody that I've gotten the chance to work with a little bit, but I'm sure you all know him, Ryan Scott Oliver. I'm like a huge fan.
Yeah.
And like sort of like had been casually aware of his music in various forms, and then had the chance to sing one of his songs and did a deep dive and was like, oh, I see, I get it now.
Totally.
Who else though? There's certainly more,
so many
more.
greats.
And Ryan Scott Oliver, quick plug. I saw him at Broadway Buskers last week, and I filmed it. So stay on the lookout for video of that.
Oh, look
dope.
at that!
Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing, and he orchestrates his own stuff too a lot of the time, which is just like an unbelievable skill.
Awesome.
Love Michael R. Jackson. Love Strange Luke.
Oh yeah.
Just like an unbelievable piece of work, and he's been like grinding it out for so long. So the fact that he's like Pulitzer Prize winning Michael R. Jackson now, it's just like yes. Shayna Taub is amazing. She just did this. Yeah, right. Oh, who?
No, Shayna Taub. I was just gonna say Shayna Taub. You should say what she just recently did, but I became aware of Shayna Taub during Old Hats.
Come on.
Which was just like one of the most amazing little collaborative moments. I'd seen Old Hats before, and then I saw it with her doing the music, and it was just like, oh, right, that's what music can do. That's what like musical storytelling can do to like elevate something. Yeah,
she's such a good songwriter, and then she was such a great Festa in her production of Twelfth Night. Is that right? The musical that she wrote in the park.
Yeah.
And there's like, is this not love? Love. She's just like epic. And then they did. She and Joe Lampert and Kate Ferber and Atu Langston Wood and a bunch of other geniuses did a concert at Little Island in the little outdoor amphitheater that just got started. That I like stalked on Instagram. It was like heavy levels of talent. It was really, really good.
Those are fabulous answers. And a quick little plug about Little Island. They have this whole festival coming up, and it's all free. Like, I love talking about free music that people can go see where the actors and the artists are being paid. It's like free for the public, but the artists are being paid. Those are two very important aspects.
Well, it's true. Appreciated.
Yes. So check out Broadway Buskers every Friday every Friday at 6. That's where I'll be later today. And then also there's Little Island. We just saw Adrienne Warren and Brian Park, which was crazy, but just stay on the lookout. Like, this is what I love to promote as much as possible, is like, how much can we go see, especially now, like safely, vaccinated, all those fun health things.
And this is a little ways down the line, but we're actually going to do Broadway Buskers in September. So going to do a bunch of my own music, and then a little bit of Edge of the World. Nick and I are going to do some stuff, and we don't have the set list yet. So maybe some of Nick's music too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here like, what am I doing? But
we haven't really talked about it. We're ready. We're very ready.
It's coming up very soon. Yeah.
So
no, but yeah, I mean, we're gonna be doing that in Times Square, and gonna play some of the Edge of the World music in addition to some other stuff.
Yeah, so and I think we're doing a concert with Norbert. I think at some point. I'm not sure, but
same.
But that's been discussed. So, stuff to look forward to for us all.
Stuff to look forward to, yes. So this is a great opportunity to just like plug everything. Let's hear about Space Dogs. Let's hear about Assassins. Let's hear about your individual music. I mean, I just like knock us over the head with everything you're doing because people want to hear it.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I wrote the show called Space Dogs that MCC is going to do in January, and I just kind of can't believe that. I wrote it with my buddy Van Hughes, who is amazing. Hey Ben. He and I, basically it's the true story of the dogs that went into space in the 50s and 60s. Yes, space buggy, space dogs. And Ellie Heyman is directing that, and she's incredible. And we have an amazing design team. Wilson Chin is designing it. We have a puppeteer. And Van and I are in it. We're the only two cast members, and we play all the instruments. So it's going to be like a kind of fun Rube Goldberg machine to like put together, because obviously like a lot of other stuff needs to occur in the show when just two people are on stage. But it's kind of like like a Wayne's World like TED talk about this moment in history, musical TED talk. It's really weird. I play a dog. Like, it's the weirdest thing that I've ever made, and I love it so much, and I'm so frankly surprised that a commercial institution wants to do it, and I'm thrilled about it. So come see Space Dogs at MCC in January. And Ethan,
and if you've seen the short film that you put out, you know to be excited already, and you probably already have your tickets planned out. That little short film was just so awesome. It's not up anymore, right?
No, it got taken down. But we're gonna drop little things of it over the next few months.
I hope so. That thing is freaking awesome.
Thanks, dude.
I'm doing Assassins. Although I keep on saying that, and then I'm realizing like I am, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
you are.
But I am doing it. We're doing it. Assassins is coming back in November, which is super exciting. And yeah, it was like this show. We started rehearsals before the pandemic. We had 2 weeks of rehearsals, and they said, we're taking tomorrow off, but don't worry, we'll be back. We'll be back on Saturday. And then they're like, okay, we're gonna take Saturday off.
We're gonna take Saturday off.
We're gonna be. This is John Doyle's accent. I don't know if you can tell. That's people. Yeah. But we'll be back. We'll be back on Monday. And then we just never came back, and it was this really heartbreaking thing, being so excited about a show that I love so much, with a cast that I love, that I was like so in awe of. Yes. And fortunately, Classic Stage has said that they're committed to it, and they've just announced that it's coming back, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
Yes, we are all very, very, very excited. I'm the comments in this are just like Assassins, yes, and Space Dogs, yes, and just everyone in all caps just so excited.
I think we just need to get back to theater. Like, we're also starved for it at this point, you know? Yes. So to be on the front line of that in any way is like, it is kind of baffling. Like, are you feeling that too, Ethan? Like, there's just like, oh yeah, like I really want to go back to work, but like, so does everybody. And it does feel like the fact that we're getting a shot to sort of be the first ones back is just like a great privilege, and is something that, you know, I hope people listening, you know, if there's anything that you can take away from like us making this album, is like, make your stuff, because it feels so good to put it out, and it feels so nice to have a record of the thoughts you had, and it feels like, you know, to put out an album like this and then to be talking about, you know, getting back in front of people live is just like kind of surreal after the last 2 years that we've all had to go through.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah, I was at Passover's first preview.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I can't imagine.
Videos.
Was it insane? Yeah.
Yeah, just like every moment, you know, like from before the show even starts, we've gotten standing ovations, and it just like, you know, when do you get a standing ovation for the playwright coming out? That was beautiful. I love that. And, you know, and then Cody doing the like, welcome to Passover. It was so fabulous. Every aspect of it. And just throughout the play, you could just feel that energy of like people who you don't know, you're just having these connections with, because you're like, live theater in person, feeling each other's energy. And then you have the dance party, the block party afterwards. What a way to welcome back Broadway.
Yeah. My God. It's so exciting. It's just insane. It's like the feeling is kind of overwhelming.
Yeah,
truly.
That's definitely true. Yes. So, okay, we have a few minutes left, because y'all have a listening party at Broadway Records, which I'm so excited about. We love all of that Broadway Records is doing, and Grace Aki, big fan. So why don't y'all give us your Instagram handles and anything, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, anything that you came into today wanting to share with your fans.
Oh, how sweet. My Instagram is Ethan A. Slater at gmail.net.
That's right. That's right.
What is it actually, Ethan?
My Instagram is Ethan Slater, and my Twitter is Ethan S.A. Slater. Ethan Sam Slater, but without the M. I don't know. I made it like I don't know, 42 years ago. I made it so long ago.
Yeah. Happy 43rd birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. It's
You
a
look
big one.
so great. Oh my God, your
You
skin.
too.
Oh, just
He's been in LA.
hydrate and sleep.
Gotten a lot of sun.
Yeah, I have gotten a lot of sun. Yeah, and then the only other thing is I would say, like, go follow myself and go follow me and follow Nick on Spotify too. That's
Totally.
like a really great way to hear any new music we might have, and also just like get to look back at our old stuff and listen to Edge of the World.
Yeah, we have a bunch of Ethan's put out 3 EPs.
2 EPs.
2 EPs and a single.
Yeah.
And I have 3 EPs out. And yeah, it's it's a funny thing making new music because there's so much of it that sometimes it kind of feels like you're dropping a penny into the ocean. But moments like this are really quite really make it feel real, and it's awesome. And like it's cool to to know that it's just like there now, and you can visit it whenever you want and get to know us a little bit.
Perfect. Yeah. And y'all, I highly recommend listening on Spotify because as you're listening to Edge of the World, your other EPs play next. And then you're like in this beautiful world of both of your music.
Oh,
and I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
That's
Shoshana,
awesome.
you're so awesome. You're a great
You're great.
interviewer. What a great time.
You're so lovely. You too. My quick little plug is Nick's and my interview from during the pandemic earlier on is on bwaySHO, the podcast. So listen to that on the Broadway Podcast Network or wherever you listen to podcasts. And y'all can subscribe to bwaySHO YouTube for all of these performances that we've been talking about. And at bwaySHO, that's bwaySHO. Thank you both so much. You have been wonderful. I love your music. I love your energy. And I can't wait to see y'all in person.
Thank you. Back at you.
Thank you.
Yay. And thank y'all for watching. You've been amazing chatting along. Go over to the Broadway Records in like less than a half hour, 4 o'clock. Go check it out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the show.